We were having a conversation about how we feel like along our journey, we've had people mentors that have enhanced our filmmaking experience and have made us better. And then we've had people that have held us back or tried to hold us back. I don't think anybody can truly hold you back if you're putting the effort in. Mm-hmm. And it's this conversation of gatekeeping.
It's really easy when things start to fall into place to connect that to your own ego and to your own ability. And the product of that is that you're an a-hole or you're really insecure because you don't have those things.
Or you don't put yourself through situations where you learn.
Exactly.
The hard things. Those are the hard things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And because you don't have those things and you're living in that comparison, you end up trying to compensate and trying to like propel yourself up by being an a-hole.
Put your guilt on somebody else.
Exactly. So it's kind of an inevitable thing if you just let it happen, because if you don't have the skill and the experience, you're gonna be insecure, and that insecurity can make you a jerk. Or if you do have the experience, then you think you're better than others, and that can also make you a jerk.
Talent-wise, experience-wise, probably better than others.
Mm-hmm.
But on the human level, like we were just saying, the human level, everybody is equal.
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest challenge with this industry, right? We talk about this in other episodes, like it's a personal expression for us. It's personal. Mm-hmm. Even though it's a business, it's personal. And there's all kinds of, that could be its own thing. I'm sure we're going to talk about that at some point where, it is a business. You have to know business principles to do well in this. But I think the key there is like this conversation around gatekeeping that happens especially in unions, which I think is important for us to talk about because neither of us are union guys yet. We might be one day. Mm-hmm. I mean, it definitely unlocks a lot of things and supports us. But we're in this new era of this boutique production company thing that almost runs like a marketing agency vibe, even though it's not an agency. We're in this time where we can go and create a staple for ourselves, but there's this kind of holier than thou opportunity for people that get into the union, which is hard to do, that once you're in it, you're exclusive all of a sudden. Mm-hmm. And it's this exclusivity that gets propelled on people that you let's say you're somebody that got into the union, you worked your butt off and you paid your dues to get there. And because you did all that work, mm-hmm. 10 years, 5 years, whatever it is, you remember how hard it was, and it's almost like a reaction to that makes you feel uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And now you're saying to somebody else, it's a really hard road. I don't know if you're going to make it. Mm-hmm. It's that kind of thing. Where to somebody who's just starting out, some of those things might scare them away. And mm-hmm. I, as somebody who came up in this like that, younger, I heard those things, but something in the back of my head just kept saying, keep going.
Any professional endeavor has a filtering system, mm-hmm. and that's a hard reality, but part of that filtering system is people telling you that you can't do it, or part of that filtering system is being able to look at someone who's been at the industry for 20 years and who is extremely discouraged or distraught and kind of projects that into a set or into a meeting. And part of the filtering is you being able to look at that and withstand and be like, no, I'm gonna be in this industry because I love it and because I know I can contribute something to society here.
Yeah, and I think there's this from clients, even like we don't have to go down the client road, but there is this softness that's associated with what we do that I think it can be taken advantage, like could take advantage of us, I should say. That is, you're expressing yourself. This is great. You just get to make art all day. You get to do this thing. Mm-hmm. Like we have to work at our desk jobs and do our like 9 to 5 and all this stuff. You guys get to just create. And there's that whole, we've talked about that before, but there's that whole like kind of mystical thing that exists out there that is like, it is gatekeeping even then. Like that's like not letting us go to our full potential. Thus you live in this price range. That's another thing, right? Mm-hmm. Even though we're not talking about that on this. But those people, I think, for me, that held me back in the industry in conversations. A good example would be anytime you've had a conversation with somebody in the DMs, on the phone, FaceTime, in person, getting coffee, and they feel like they're talking down to you. We talked about this earlier. There's a human level to that. There's a level to that where now you feel uncomfortable because you feel like somebody doesn't respect you as an equal. And that matters to us in our industry, to any industry, right? But I think that's a big part of the gatekeeping. It's not just the skill. It's like you're inherently telling me that we are not on the same level. And I think that's made us and a lot of people grind harder.
You can have the best visuals ever. You can have like the most insane stories ever. If you burn all the bridges in your life and in your career and in your network, you're not going to go far, because essentially, like, it's kind of funny if you think about it. You're trying to get somewhere, right? And you have to cross all those bridges to get somewhere. But if you're throwing like Molotov cocktails at the bridges that you need to cross to like get somewhere,
now you have to go find the materials and build the next one.
Right, well, exactly. You can
Sometimes the bridge is already there and it's perfectly good.
Yep. And you go and throw a Molotov on it and burn down the bridge, you know? And it's like, you're like Homer Simpson, you know, in that, like, there's like a little meme of him like driving over a burning bridge. Like, yeah. You're essentially, like, you need to get somewhere. It's going to take a lot of crossing tough roads and rivers to get there. And if you burn all the bridges, you can have all the tools in the world. You can be the most sensational writer ever. Like, you're just not going to make it. And that's a really hard reality. So whether it's through, I think the creative has a hard battle in front of him or her of just realizing that our pride is gonna wanna just jump out of us at other people through our insecurity or through our skill / experience. And it's our job as creatives and as people to not let that happen, and to look at others and think of them as more significant than ourselves. That's a verse in the Bible. But
which is where we get the backbone for all storytelling.
Exactly. So it's
no matter what background you are, even if you're not somebody of faith, it's referenced throughout all of what we create. I don't care where you stand on that. It's truth. It's truth that those things happened, and a lot of what we, and this is where this gets really deep. It's not just narrative structure. You're making the point to connection with a person. Like, how wild is that? It's not that crazy what you're saying, but yet when, like you're saying, when pride gets in the way, now all of a sudden you abandon that. You abandon that like-mindedness that you can share with somebody. Everybody goes through life a little bit differently, but we all experience the same hardships, successes, you know, in some way or another. They're not all going to be like totally equal. But that's the thing that, like, when you're trying to prevent somebody from crossing that bridge, your reputation really does precede you.
100%.
The more that you're doing it, the more that because you're uncomfortable, you say things. That words are power, and if you say certain things, that really limits you in the future. And people remember, in this network, we know, because of how tight we are and how tight our friends are. I move to Greenville, I meet people that now have become your friends, and I've met people through you that are now my friends. But the same thing happens. It's really easy to make enemies. If you tell me that somebody's hard to work with, I'm immediately, because I trust you, I immediately don't know if I want to work with them. I mean, I've not experienced it. I think everybody deserves a fair chance, but I'm going to listen. And if I hear any sense of that, it's hard. It's hard for me to want to bring that person on my set.
It's hard to connect. It's really hard to connect. It's crazy because the people that I've seen really succeed and enjoy their lives as filmmakers and have good reputations and whatnot, it's 100% of the time a joy to work with them, and 100% of the time, not in a toxic way, but they make you feel undeserving of how kind they are, how generous they are, how supportive they are.
Their time and attention to you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's that undeserving feeling, not in the toxic way of like someone just, you know,
steamrolling you.
Yeah, or someone just flattering you for no reason.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah.
There's a toxic way to do it, but with truly generous people, like I think that feeling of when I'm in someone else's set and I'm like, wow, this person's like being extremely kind to me, even though I have nothing else to give them. Or like when I'm in a coffee meeting and it's like, whoa, this person's super interested. This happens sometimes. I'll meet with like directors who are 20 years older than me, and they are interested in my life, and I'm like, I mean, honestly, if we got this meeting and you didn't ask me a question, I would have been thankful to just sit here with you.
Wow.
You know? But they want to know
true.
how my wife's doing. They want to know what are my goals. They want to know all that. And when I look at those guys, I'm like, I want to be like them.
And they don't have anything to say about themselves because they are not that way. They're proud of their work, but they don't have to tell you that. The second that somebody has to tell you all the accomplishments, you really know that, I mean, sometimes it's warranted. I think sometimes if it's warranted in conversation, sure, tell them you went and worked a job for X big company or person or whatever. If it means that you can then, tide rises all ships, bring who you're talking to the table, that's like what I try to do in those moments. If I'm going to bring something up, it has to do something with the conversation and something with that person. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, I'm going to let you look. My stuff's available. You can look at it. And it's growing and it's getting better. It's not fully there. But I always say that I hope that my work, when I talk about it, before somebody ever looks at it, I hope that that person goes back and looks at my work and says, okay, he's saying he practices what he preaches. He's saying these things that he's made do represent what I see on the website, mm-hmm. or what I see in him or her as a person or whatever, right? So
totally.
It's a deep topic, this one, but you know, I think it leads to a bigger conversation too around something that we're gonna probably do. Like, it leads to a conversation around personnel and like who we pick. You know, mm-hmm. That's important. Who's with you on this road? You know, we have each other for this kind of stuff, even though we don't live close. But it's still an ongoing conversation for us. You know,
is it bad company corrupts good morals? Is that the same?
Mm-hmm.